Dive in the deep end, it's time to defend your movie.
Hello, friends, and welcome to this week's episode of Defending Your Movie. I am your host, Jeremy Meyer. So when I first started this podcast, I immediately knew this would be a guest on the show because he's actually a good friend of mine and a coworker, somebody I spend more time with than some of my family just by nature of, working together. But today's guest is my friend, Nick Almendarez, also known as the professional wrestler Matt Nix, founder of Freelance Wrestling in Chicago, also a host of his own podcast. Used to be called The Matt Nix Show, now is called My Violet Tendencies, which is a very hard thing for me to say. But Nick is, always been a good friend of mine and always had a particular taste in movies. And, whenever we talk about movies, butting heads is maybe not the right choice of phrase, but, we have a lot of differing opinions on what makes a good and or fun movie. And I knew he'd be an early on guest of the show, and I already knew what we'd be talking about before he even picked the movie. But today we were talking about the 7th movie in the Tremors franchise, Tremors Shrieker Island. Now, Nick is the biggest Tremors fan I know. I think most people who have seen it or are aware of it, most people love the first Tremors movie. I remember, I haven't seen it since it came out, but I remember really enjoying the second Tremors movie, and then most of them I just assumed are all bad, like most other people. But Nick is a ride or die for the Tremors franchise. We talk a little bit about it, but he has Tremors art in his office where we recorded the episode. He is in a Tremors Facebook group. He, like me, so I have this thing where I collect all the different versions of the Star Wars movies. I have multiple different VHS copies. I have the DVDs, the Blu-rays. I bought the Laserdisc box set. I like to collect all the different versions of Star Wars media. And it's just something I've always done. I'm not really sure why, but I was talking to him about it, and he actually started doing the same thing with Tremors. He bought all of the movies that were out on VHS, and he has the Blu-ray box set. And he feels about Tremors the way I feel about Star Wars, which is just a fun thing to say. But so Tremors Shrieker Island is the most recent Tremors movie, and they've all starred Michael Gross, and this seems to be like it could be his last one. There's always the chance that if these things continue to make money or get views, because this was put out on Netflix, I'm not sure if it had any other kind of release than that, aside from a physical media release. But, there's always a chance they could do more of these things if people watch them and like them and want to see them. But I gotta say, I did not think I would enjoy the 7th Tremors movie, but I very much enjoyed the 7th Tremors movie. And we're going to get into that discussion as to why I think it's pretty good and why I was caught off guard and surprised by it. But before we get into that, let's get our plugs out of the way. So as I mentioned before, Nick has a podcast, My Violet Tendencies. That's violet like the color. It's a play on the band name My Violent Tendencies. Also, you can check out, he has a Patreon for that show. I have a Patreon for my show. If you can check out patreon.com/defendingmovie. We also have our t-shirt store, belowthecollar.com/defendingyourmovie, where you can get all of our t-shirts. Working on getting a mug up there, because I had a mug for my previous podcast, and I'm a writer. I like a coffee mug. I think it'd be cool to have a coffee mug with my logo on it, so I'm going to work on getting a new one up for there. Possibly a sticker as well, if you want to slap a sticker on something with the logo. Yeah, going to work on getting all that stuff up. Also, you can follow us on our social medias, Twitter and Instagram at Defending Movie. Be sure to hit me up on there. Hey, if you wanna come defend a movie, my DMs are open. So just be nice. But without further ado, let's talk about the 7th Tremors movie, Tremors Shrieker Island. So I definitely know everybody, I think in my life, is a fan of the first Tremors movie, but you're the only one I know who deep dives on the sequels.
Yeah, no, I mean, Tremors, the original Tremors film starring Kevin Bacon.
I can never remember the other guy's name, even though he's just as much of a main character.
Fred Ward?
That might be right. Yeah, we both have it pulled up here. Let me see.
Phone in my hand.
Fred Ward, you are correct.
Damn. Look at that. Just pulling knowledge out of my ass. And Reba.
Yeah,
Reba's
she's great.
And Michael Gross, who's also...
As you've seen all of these, I'll have questions for you at some point. But I'll just ask, is there any reference to Reba in any of the other movies? And like what happened?
In Tremors 2, I think they make reference to like, oh yeah, they had an ugly split or something like that.
Okay.
They kind of, there's like a throwaway line or something explaining that they're no longer an item.
Yeah.
And Bert's just kind of like this insane like doomsday prepper kind of like gun toting American.
That's where they just like lean into like, oh no, he's just a crazy prepper. I do the second one does have one of my favorite scenes which is when they call him and he's just got one of the graboid heads on his wall. Because I think honestly the second one is maybe the first one I've seen. I remember being at a video store and my brother was like, we were looking for a movie and he's like, there's a Tremors 2. I didn't even know they made this. And I was just like, what's Tremors? He's like, oh, you've never seen Tremors? So we rented the second one and watched it. And I was like, yeah, that was cool. And then he was explaining to me scenes in the first one because he's like, oh yeah, in this one they have guns and stuff. But in the first one they didn't have anything. They just had to kill them by like running them into cliffs and brick walls and stuff. So like, oh, well, that sounds cool. And I eventually saw the first one like way later. But this is the only sequel post 2 that I have seen. And interesting to jump in at what is, I guess, kind of the last one.
Potentially, yeah. I don't know. There's no like immediate plans for a sequel, but like they also didn't. I don't think anybody thought they were going to make a 5, 6, or 7. So who knows?
Yeah, and yeah. So you've seen all of them. You have the whole Blu-ray box set and everything.
Yes. No, I am. It's so funny because like. I told you I've told you before that I'm part of a group on Facebook that's like a Tremors like fan group.
Yeah.
Which I mean like hey, there's fan groups for like any
course.
kind of like thing that you could think of, but like I never had thought about like looking for that kind of stuff before because like you said, everybody that we all know pretty much has seen the first one and likes the first one. I don't think anybody can really say that
it's a perfect film.
Yeah, it's just a fun monster movie that is like pretty well made for like the time that it came out.
Yeah, and a lot of very
really
cheap.
Effects.
I looked up; it was only like a $10 million budget, which is like nothing.
Yeah, and but not too many people like well at least the first two. Everyone's like, oh, the first two are great, and then like
I do feel like most people have seen the second one.
Yeah. But I've always been like the one person that I feel like that I know that's like guys, like I love Tremors. I love all these movies. Like, yeah. And like I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that like they're all like these 5-star classics or anything like that. Like no, like it's you know you have an aforemention of, is that the right word? Aforemention.
I'm not sure
of like something that you love, like a fandom, and you kind of either just blindly love it and just like refuse to take any criticisms and stuff like that, or like in this case, like I know that some of these sequels are not that great. I mean, a lot of them, I think most of them, all of them except for the first one were direct to video, direct to DVD, direct to streaming service. But like especially with 5, 6, and 7, which kind of started off a whole new trilogy of the franchise, and it's very tied in with the original lore of the monsters and everything like that, but it kind of like starts and spoilers ends a nice little story arc there for Burt Gummer, Michael Gross's character. Yeah,
because he's the only one that carries over through all of them. Mm-hmm. The second one still has Fred Ward, but Kevin Bacon not in it. He returned for that pilot they shot for the TV series.
God, I wish that shit happened.
Yeah, that's the only interaction he's had with the franchise since, I think.
Except for that, I don't know if you saw that commercial. They did like
they did a commercial?
I think it's like a car commercial or something where like it's like Kevin Bacon's like, oh, we're doing 6 degrees of whatever, and then he's talking about this shit, and then it just ends with him.
the
and
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon thing.
Yeah, and then it ends with him and Michael Gross kind of sitting there, like looking like they're about to hunt some graboids.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
And so fun. Yeah, it just came out. I think it was up for the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, they've been doing that like I think that Bill Murray one was like the first one where they did the Groundhog Day thing, and I think that just was so popular. They're like, oh, let's keep doing it. That's fun. I should look that up. So this, I saw the second one, and I actually really like the second one. I have not seen it since whatever the fuck year it came out. I might actually borrow your box set just to watch the second one. But so I always kind of just avoided the sequels just because, like, oh, like most people probably, it's like, oh, it's just straight to DVD trash or whatever. But like, when you told me that you found the Facebook fan group, and are you still pretty like involved in that?
I mean, I don't really post. I don't post on Facebook a lot in general, but like I'll pop in. A lot of it'll pop
if you're
up
on
my
Facebook,
feed.
You'll pop in or whatever.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people talking like trading like memorabilia and stuff like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm dying to get some movie props. Like,
what would be like your ideal Tremors prop? Like a tongue or something?
I don't know. Like, there's like maybe like the Atlanta Falcons hat or Atlanta Hawks hat that Burt Gummer wears in the first one. Like, that might be a cool like piece of memorabilia. And it's kind of funny, like in the, because Michael Gross, I believe, is from Chicago, like in real life.
I noticed he wears a Cubs hat in this one.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and in the 5, 6, and 7, he's always rocking the Cubs hat, which I'm a diehard White Sox fan. But
you're wearing a White Sox hat right now,
currently, but I love that. I love Chicago. I'm not a Cubs hater.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh yeah, cool little shout out to Chicago and the Cubs.
Yeah, I forgot he was from here.
But yeah, no, I don't know. Like, I was looking on. We found that one site that you found that, like,
that movie prop site. I can never remember the name of it, but I think I have it bookmarked.
They were selling like a tentacle from one.
That's what I would be into.
But it was like $1,000.
Oh yeah, that stuff's really expensive.
I don't want that bad.
I always say my ideal movie prop is one of the bars of soap with the Paper Street Soap Company business card strapped to it from Fight Club.
Oh, that'd be
and
cool.
I've looked around, and like, I don't think they exist, but they did give the crew like fake soap bars that one of them was on that site, but it was hella expensive.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. But yeah, so like when I started this show, I knew that we were going to hit some of these movies, and
I picked this one on purpose to force you to watch it.
It was probably a good idea because it makes me want to watch the other ones. I definitely am going to watch 5 and 6.
Hell yeah!
Like, after this, it's interesting because Jamie Kennedy was in the other two, and they're clearly like replacing him in this one.
Oh yeah.
Possibly on purpose. Maybe he just wasn't available, but I have a feeling they probably just didn't want to get him in there.
I think he was. Has he been in like some trouble lately? I feel like he's like an alcoholic now or something.
Yeah, he's kind of a shitbag celebrity from what I understand. That he's one of these people who thinks he should be more famous than he kind of is, and it's one of those things where I've heard stories of him going on stage and kind of blaming the fans for not laughing.
Yeah.
So
he's in a bad place, right?
And he might be falling into some conspiracy shit that some celebrities end up falling down. Like, I think he's kind of just losing grace with burning a lot of bridges and stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe he just wasn't available.
No, but I mean, maybe. But it's so funny because, like you said, he was in the last two, and I half laugh about this. The cast for this movie is like a very low key, star-studded cast. If you think about like what these other characters have done in other other properties, but like obviously Michael Gross, John Hader he plays this guy Jimmy in this movie. Who obviously he was Napoleon Dynamite. That's like the one thing he's known for.
Yeah.
Jackie Cruz as Freddy. She is from Orange is the New Black.
I was wondering if she looked familiar.
Yeah, she was Flocka.
Okay.
And
I didn't watch a lot of that, but my wife did.
And the kind of the main heel, I guess, of the movie. The bad
guy
is Bill
Richard Brake,
who is famously,
he's always great.
famously, or not really famously, I guess if nobody really knows, but he was the guy he played the Night King in Game of Thrones.
Did he play the fucking Night King?
He was the Night King in Game of Thrones.
I did not know that. Oh, only for 2 episodes.
But I was like, damn, this is so funny that like
he's like the shitbag in everything. He was in the Doom movie.
I thought it was Nicolas Cage at first when he popped up.
No, that would be amazing. Getting Nicolas Cage in one of these.
Could you imagine Nicolas Cage in a Tremors movie?
He was in Mandy though, which was a Nicolas Cage movie. I still have not seen Mandy.
Same.
But yeah, he's like, he's in Thor: The Dark World. He's just that guy who's in everything. He was in that episode of Mandalorian with Bill Burr where he shoots him and stuff.
Oh.
He's always like just such a good sleazebag, and he's giving 110% in this movie. He was super entertaining every time he was on screen.
And him being like I say the bad guy in this movie, he's not even really a bad dude in this movie.
He's just kind of shitty.
Yeah, and he's like, I mean, so this movie is basically the plot of it is that this guy, he owns this island, rich dude, big game hunter. It's like a big thing. Like
he brings in like rich people to do like crazy hunts.
Yeah, and you see this in like, and obviously this is based in reality, but like in other movies and stuff of bringing these hunters to hunt something super dangerous, something that you wouldn't be able to hunt anywhere else, and like it's kind of a play off of like the most dangerous game.
Yeah, or like people who go like, oh, I want to go hunt a tiger and stuff, and they just bring these rich people out to shoot a sedated tiger or some bullshit.
And so this guy, like, at this point in that universe, graboids are like world known.
I was
like,
going to ask if there's
them.
any like, or do they address that at all?
Yeah, no, they. So in the movie they pull up like the survivalist show that Burt Gummer hosts, and he talks about like this is how you kill graboids, and like so people like it's out there, people know.
Yeah, and they talk about how he's like a legend or like a superhero.
He's kind of like a Steve Irwin in this universe. Like everybody loves him, they worship him, and he's just like this cranky old man. And so this guy brings he brings a graboid to this island.
He brings 4 graboids.
Oh yeah.
And then he like juices them up, like genetically alters them.
Yeah,
or
they're
whatever.
genetically engineered to be like bigger, faster, stronger kind of thing. Like which is the worst possible thing you could possibly think of.
The stupidest thing you could do.
And then as of course all hell breaks loose, and the research team that is on this island that's doing their own thing, they have to, of course they know Bert. So they're like, we got to get him to come here, and we got to stop this, and da-da-da-da.
Okay, so question for you, having seen the other ones, I assume that the girl who or the woman, that is his baby mama, was she in the other ones?
I don't think so. I don't think she is. I think they kind of just introduce her in this movie, and they kind of just explain like, oh yeah, they have history. Like,
okay, that's fascinating, because they're implying that she's Jamie Kennedy's mom. I'm pulling up her thing to see if she was maybe in. Yeah, she's not in one of the other ones. That's so interesting, because they were definitely playing it off that maybe she had been in one of the other ones, or that clearly they knew each other.
Yeah.
Okay, that's that. I could have. I was like, oh, she was probably in the last one. Like I was piecing that together as I was watching it.
Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting way to introduce somebody like that in the movie, and like for her not being involved in any of the other ones, but like kind of immediately giving this like reason for you to care about her.
Yeah, which I guess it worked on me then, because I assumed like, oh, well, I must know her from one of the other ones if I saw them in order.
Yeah,
but I did care about her character and their kind of relationship in the movie.
Yeah, and it was fun because like Bert, obviously, I mean, if in the last spoilers, in the 6th movie.
Oh, this is all spoilers.
Yeah, in the 6th movie, he gets like a virus from the graboids. Like it's kind of like through their blood or something.
Yeah.
And it's just from like over exposure throughout the years and stuff like that. And they have to like cure him or something like. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but like he's kind of like incapacitated for a while. And I think because of that, and obviously just dealing with these fucking things for like his whole life. And at this point in Shrieker Island, he's secluded on his own island.
Oh yeah, he's just like crazy.
He's just a hermit man, and doesn't want to talk to anybody. And so it was very like pulling teeth trying to get him to come out there to help them out with this situation.
Yeah, and it was fun seeing him with like the full beard and like watching him like kind of cut it down back to the classic mustache.
Yeah, he He looked a little. He looked pretty good though for an old guy. Like he's pretty in good shape. And
like I don't know how old he is. You said he was like in his 70s or something.
He's like 78.
Yeah, he's an old dude, and it was crazy because at the end of this movie they show in the credits of like him from the original movie. He's 74. Of him from the original movie, and you're just like, oh god, that's like the skin of a 20-year-old compared to how he looks in this one.
Yeah.
But like this movie, I love how it was just unabashedly a ripoff of Predator.
Oh yeah,
to the point where they're literally just name dropping Predator like a couple times, and they literally use the Predator sound effects when the graboid or the Shrieker is watching them from the woods. It literally cuts to it and you hear the like dun, 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 like the sound effects of like the heat vision from Predator. And like I think they even do the zoom like because it like looks in like they're not hiding it, that they're just making Predator.
Well, that's just the thermal camera sound.
Yeah.
But I think that's funny because like people say, oh, like those Tremors movies are shit. Like they're just and it's like, yeah, they're not pretending to be a fucking great movie. Like they're clearly like poking fun at themselves, and by even referencing like Tremors and like you said, putting the sound effect even in there, and like they're very much just like, hey, this is a fun monster movie. Like we're telling our story. You know, this is a kind of like a pretty well-known franchise. Like I think everybody knows about Tremors, even if they haven't seen it.
And I think everybody knows these sequels are coming out, even if they're not watching them. Like I think people are, because I posted a tweet after I saw this movie. I was like, oh, I just saw the 7th Tremors movie. Ask me anything. And I had people like messaging me like, oh, is it still star Michael Gross and everyone? And I was just like, yeah, it's still the same. So people are aware of it.
Oh yeah, no, it's and the last two, actually all these three last sequels, the 5, 6, 7, were all like Netflix movies. Like Netflix put them out. That was where they went, and I was like, damn, that's so cool. Like, and Netflix is like pretty good with like what they've been putting out as far as like their own shit.
Yeah,
and I was very excited when they announced that they were doing more movies, and I was like, well, even if they're not great, I know that I will still like them because they're Tremors movies, and I had good faith because Netflix, you know, they do pretty good.
I mean, it was always like you'd come into work and be like, oh man, there's a new Tremors movie coming out, and I'd just be like, really? And then like you'd watch it and be like, bro, it was so good. It's like my favorite one.
Dude, after Shrieker Island came out, I posted this on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. I posted it in this Tremors group as well.
Yeah.
That I was like, all right, here's my list of my favorite Tremors movies in order. Obviously the first one.
Yeah, first one can't be beat.
I think this is my second favorite Tremors
really?
movie. Just for, if you think about it in a broader way of saying it, it's like it's with the story that they're telling, the way it ends, the action, the comedy, everything all encompassing kind of like made that decision for me. I was like, oh, I really enjoyed watching this. And like I've watched it a couple times, and like every time I watch it, I'm like, dude, this is like, it's a really fun movie. The special effects, the CGI don't look that bad.
No, it like, I know that I think the 5th one has some pretty rough special effects, but that was the first one where they brought in Jamie Kennedy and they're kind of starting a new thing. So maybe they didn't get a big budget or whatever. Or maybe they just used the same special effects house for all 3 and they just got better as they went on.
Yeah.
But I've like, there's definitely hints at cost cutting because you don't see the Tremors a lot.
Yeah.
There's a couple moments where they have a big worm. There's a lot of people just being dragged off into the woods without seeing what's dragging them.
Yeah.
But, you know, they did that in the first one too.
Which kind of like adds to the suspense. Like, the more you see like the monster, the less scary it is. Yeah,
they definitely take the Jaws approach, and you know it's probably more effective, even though for them it was probably a cost cutting thing. But
definitely,
honestly, it works. Like it's pretty smart.
Like you talk about cost cutting and stuff like that. I mentioned this to you before. Like there's the scene, like, so when the graboid finally like busts open and reveals the Shriekers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In the second movie, I should say, they find this large carcass and there's like holes ripped out of the side of it, and it looks gnarly as hell, and you're just like, Jesus, what the hell happened here?
Yeah.
In the 7th one, they literally just have like a mound of dirt like dug up and just splash some slime on the ground.
Yeah,
and they're just like, what happened here? And it's like, it looks like shit. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's not great looking. And then it's been a long. So actually, I was talking to you because it's been a long time since I've seen the second one. That I forgot the little bipedal guys were called the Shriekers. I thought the Shriekers were like a new mutation.
Oh,
but I had forgotten just because I haven't seen the second one in a long time.
That's right. And then I told you, I was like, okay, well, let me drop some graboid
the Tremors knowledge
on you. So anybody who is not familiar or mildly familiar, so these guys in the lore of the movies, they start their lifespan as eggs or in an egg. I guess it's what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Do you ever see the egg in one of the movies?
You do.
Okay.
You see it in you see them in the fourth one for sure.
That's the Old West one.
It's like a prequel. And I think you see them in the third one because they start off as the eggs, they hatch as graboids, the big worms.
Yeah.
Those guys go around digging around, eating people, doing what they do. And then eventually they will molt, I guess is the word you would say.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a metamorphosis. And these guys, they bust open, and the Shriekers, which are the little guys with the legs. And they're
almost kind of cute.
They're kind of cute looking. They look like dogs.
Yeah.
And they have the thing that pops open on the top of their head.
I forgot about that.
That like is the heat sensing thing. So like they see through heat signatures, and that's how they go after their prey.
Yeah.
And so these guys, they do that. They eat everything, and eventually they molt into
the flying version.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an official name other than Ass Blaster.
Yeah, it's so dumb that you go like, oh, you got graboids, you got Shriekers, and then ass blasters.
Which the reason they call them that is because they fly, but in order to gain flight, they kind of like have this combustible chemical reaction in their like lower abdomen that shoots fire out of their ass.
Yeah,
and that launches them into the air, and then they glide.
And that's the third one, right?
Yeah, that is what the third one introduced.
I've literally only seen the scene in the third one where they name the ass blasters, where they're like holding up a mattress as they're walking, and I think it's some girl in the movie is like, oh well, like what do we call them? Or they're like, how about ass blasters? And that's just what they become.
Damn. Yeah, and they see the same way as the Shriekers do.
So they're infrared as well.
Yeah. And then these guys, like almost like how birds will like eat like food seeds and stuff like that, and then they poop it out somewhere else, and that's how like trees grow in other areas and stuff, and they spread pollination and whatnot. It's kind of the same thing that these fucking ass blasters will fly around, and then they'll lay the eggs. So
they can spread it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that becomes the thing of this movie is like, oh, we got to take out the Shriekers before they become ass blasters and spread like a plague.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd missed out on some of the biology stuff there because I didn't see 3.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And they introduce, so like in the 5th one, they're in Africa.
Yeah.
And they're like, yo, because they bring Bert over there. They're like, hey, we have a different breed of graboid. It's an African version. This guy is bigger and meaner, and it actually has detachable tentacles. So like the tentacles that come out of its mouth will shoot out, and it'll like grab.
It's like an action
shit.
figure.
Yeah, no, it's fucking nuts. And I don't know if the 6th one was anything special. Like
it's just they just put it in the snow.
Yeah, it was
because it's kind of just become like, oh, what environment can we put these things in?
Yeah, and as we talked about, I was like, so there's no like official plans, I think, for a sequel, and obviously Burt Gummer gets killed and at the end of this one,
which is actually really well done.
It's like super poetic.
Yeah, and then I was telling you because I was like, oh, this like at first I was like, oh, this is just them aping on Jurassic Park, and I was like, oh no, this is Predator. And at the end, I was like, oh, no, it's both of those things and also Logan. Like, it's just all these things thrown in. Because literally they set up, like, his little grave at the end. And it's just like Logan, except nobody takes out the stick and makes it an X.
Oh, yeah, that was kind of lame.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's like, if they ever do make another one, like we were joking about it earlier. I was like, they got to go to space.
It's the only logical conclusion because like you've pretty much hit every kind of environment. Well, I guess you could do a city, but I don't think that'd be that interesting.
I don't think they can't because they can't dig through concrete.
That's true. So you're
unless
pretty fucked
there's
there.
like
Central Park.
Oh, that would be.
You're trapped in Central Park and you have to get out.
That would be interesting.
Because it's only so much room. Like a graboid could find you wherever you are. There's not many places to hide off the ground.
That or like even like the Shriekers could like
that too
pop out and cause some mayhem.
I guess you could do some ass blasters in the city.
Oh yeah,
but like take it to space, and that gives you a way to bring back Michael Gross because you're like, well, if we're in space, it's clearly futuristic. And you just clone him. Like, oh, we have a graboid problem and we need to get the best graboid killer that history's ever known, and you just clone him.
That would be funny. And we were like talking. I was like, well, like they clone him and it's like he's just an old man again.
Yeah,
but maybe. Or okay, if we're just gonna go completely fucking sideways with this, not cloning, time travel.
Oh,
they go back in time and
I didn't even think of that.
They fucking grab him right before he gets eaten by the thing. So like, so when it happens,
yeah.
And this is okay. So this is like, I just had this idea because I've been reading Invincible, and there's a part where, spoilers, Mark's fighting this dude Dinosaurus, and he like rips him in half and just like kills him.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, holy shit, Invincible's dead. But like Dinosaurus is like, yeah, actually he's like, he's like a super genius dinosaur.
Yeah.
So he like creates this clone of him but like, he's like, I couldn't
Man,
really.
Invincible gets weird.
It gets really weird. He clones him, but he's like, I couldn't really perfect the cloning mechanism. So it looks like you in every way, but it just can't, it's like a dead body basically.
Yeah.
And he's like, I needed you for something else. So like, as that was about to happen, I opened up a portal and I swapped you and the body of that. So I ripped him in half.
Ripped the clone in half.
Yeah. So in my mind, right before this giant graboid dives off the cliff and eats Burt Gummer, a portal opens up right as it's happening and they yank him back in. So the graboid falls to his death. He gets yanked into the future and they're like, hey, we need you to fight these graboids on Mars or something.
I was thinking it's got to be Mars.
It's got to be Mars.
That's like where our next goal is space wise. So I say just put it on Mars.
And
maybe
honestly,
you reveal they came from Mars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they never really say. I don't think they ever really say. They kind of just show up in the desert one day.
Yeah.
And what has a similar terrain to Mars?
Exactly.
The desert.
Yeah. And like, you could argue like, oh, it's like a prehistoric creature, but like there's no reason why it couldn't be from space.
There's no reason that motherfucker looks like an alien.
Yeah, for sure. Even if it was something prehistoric, maybe it came from space prehistorically.
Yeah.
I'm into that.
Let's book it.
I like the time travel thing better than the cloning.
I think so. Yeah, I think the cloning thing's too hard to like nail down with him being an old man. But
yeah, true.
I feel like that would be, and people wouldn't even be mad because they're just like,
whatever.
They're Tremors movies. Like,
yeah, who cares?
Who cares?
I do like the classic throwback of like, oh, we're gonna kill this thing by launching it off a cliff, but then they also just blow it up when it hits the ground. And it's just like raining on them,
literally raining blood.
Yeah, I was super surprised by how much fun I had with this movie. Like, it has its lulls. Like, I think you see them ride on a boat back and forth from the island like 6 times.
Had to kill some time.
Yeah, like that was definitely padding out the runtime. Like, oh, they probably just spent an entire day out there shooting boat scenes and just like changing wardrobe and adding more goo to them and dirt to them as they were doing it.
Yeah, there's worse ways to spend your day.
Oh, for sure. And it looked like a nice place wherever they were filming. Like, I was definitely thinking of those like tropes of like, oh, we're gonna just film a movie in a tropical place so we can have a nice vacation or whatever.
Yeah. I want to become an actor.
Oh, fuck yeah. Just get in an Adam Sandler movie and you're set for life. Every summer you're filming somewhere nice.
That is true. Like, all of his movies are set in like Hawaii or some shit.
Well, have you heard the fucking like how people claim that his movies are just like tax shelters basically? Or like
tax shelters?
So okay, this is doing some digging. This is some deep digging, but there's conspiracies that if you look at the budgets for his movies and what those movies are, the budgets are a lot bigger than what it seems like they should be. So what they think they do is also his movies feature an exuberant amount of advertising. Like, you can think of a product that is specifically tied to every Adam Sandler movie.
Oh yeah.
So they think that like they get all this money, they spend what they need to make the movie, but then him and his friends just pocket the extra. and then they film the movie in a nice place where they're just basically taking vacation.
Is that legal? Because I don't give a fuck.
I mean, I don't either. I mean, it sucks that it's in service of these shitty movies, but
you know what though? I feel like that can't be legal because
it's probably absolutely not.
If a studio's paying for this movie to get made and they make it under budget and then they just keep the rest, like,
yeah, because like, hey, we just bring in all this advertising and advertising covers it, and like we get all this extra money.
I mean, I guess technically, like it might be above
like
the board.
The reason Netflix paid him for like that deal is because his movies make money.
Yeah, and people, whether or not these movies are good or not,
which most are not nowadays,
people watch them because they're Adam Sandler movies, and they'll be like, it was okay.
Yeah, like I've tried watching a lot of his later ones. Most of them are trash, but I do want to check out that murder mystery one. Like, I'm kind of interested in that one, and I heard that one was actually like okay.
I haven't seen Hubie Halloween, but I've heard.
Oh, that looks awful.
I heard nothing but great things.
That's hard to believe. I've also heard that, but I just find it so hard to believe.
Same. That's why I haven't watched it.
That trailer looks so bad. I would watch any number of Tremors movies over that.
The one he did with, I think it was Jennifer Aniston. It was he's like a spy or some shit.
No, that's the one I'm talking about. It's a murder mystery. They're like on a boat and somebody gets murdered, but he's like a cop, so they're trying to like figure it out or whatever.
Oh, I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, there was the
Do-Over.
The Do-Over.
That one was pretty good. I
thought it was like kind of boring. I thought there was one really funny joke, which was David Spade in a threesome with who's that other actor? He was in Community. Like
Luis Guzman.
Yeah, and then he's just staring at him the whole time. He's like, dude, you gotta stop staring at me. Like, that was like the one moment I found funny in that movie.
I love Luis Guzman.
He's so good.
Funny.
None of this has anything to do with Tremors.
That's okay. I don't know how much more we could talk about this movie.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. Like,
is there anything specific you want to ask me about it? I guess I don't know.
I think I asked you everything. Just, I am super curious. I mean, I think I want to borrow your movies.
Oh, you can definitely borrow them
because they're not streaming anywhere that I could see. The only one on Netflix is this one.
Yeah.
Which is Insanity. I definitely want to watch 5 and 6, and then 3 and 4. I want to revisit 2, so that might actually be the one I watch first. But yeah, like. There's not even a lot of action in this movie, but it still managed to keep me engrossed the whole time.
And it moves pretty quick. Like, it's not a long movie.
No, I think it's like an hour 40 minutes or something.
Yeah,
like
it's you get in, you get out, you see some worms eating people.
Yeah, and it's kind of fascinating that this is the end of Michael Gross allegedly for these movies, and it's not like treated that way throughout the whole movie. Like, you only get in the last like 20 minutes of like before they kind of split off to do their plan. His baby mama is just like, well, what happens if like you don't make it or whatever? And that's the only kind of hint that like, oh, he might not make it out of this one.
You know what's crazy is when I was watching this for the first time, when that happened and he got eaten, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I could not believe that they
like,
did that.
Like as a fan, I can't imagine like watching that, be like, what? No, they can't do that.
I wasn't like upset, but I was just like, oh wow. Like, I just assumed he was gonna get out of fine. And like,
you thought it was gonna be like, it was just gonna follow the formula.
Yeah, and they totally pulled the rug out and committed to killing him, which I was like, damn, that's kind of fucking ballsy, but like awesome. Like, I appreciated that. As a fan, I appreciate them taking that risk.
It's kind of crazy, and I do wonder if they were kind of building Jamie Kennedy to be the replacement, but then he wasn't in this one. But I think we've talked about this, that I like John Heder in this movie.
He's so funny, and he's like, not even like intentionally funny.
He does have my favorite line in the movie where they're like, oh, they're picking off the weakest ones first. He's like, oh shit, that means I'm next. Like, like that was the best line.
He kills me. Like, there's the scene where when they first introduce him, he's just like drunk on the beach, like in a hammock and stuff. Like, he's like, wake up.
Yeah, he's really playing out of character. I mean, he hasn't done a ton of movies, or if he has, I just haven't seen them. But
yeah, I don't know what he's been doing.
Yeah, like outside of like Napoleon Dynamite and Blades of Glory, like I remember, was it School for Scoundrels? I think he was in.
I'm not sure.
I haven't seen him in much anything else, and he's not like a bad actor.
No, but I think after doing Napoleon Dynamite, everyone's just like, Napoleon Dynamite.
You're the Napoleon Dynamite guy.
He kind of got typecasted in that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because he's he's fun in this movie. Like, and when I saw the role he was playing, I'm just like, oh, I don't know if he's right for this kind of character, but he nails it, and he's a lot of fun.
The moment I saw he was announced for this movie, I was like, oh, I am very excited to see how this is going to play out.
Because you were like following the news on this.
Oh yeah, I was deep in the Tremors dirt sheets.
Which I was just like, oh yeah, cool, another Tremors movie. But like, oh man, there's a strong possibility that I end up in that Facebook group by the end of this.
Dude, it's great, and like, it's a fun niche fandom that like I feel like doesn't necessarily get the most love, but like I love it because like I feel like it's a very passionate fandom because it doesn't get enough love. So like people like me and these other weirdos in this group are like just like so excited to like talk positively about these movies to just other people that are willing to listen and not roll their eyes at you. It's
I remember when you posted your ranking of the movies that there were people in that group that were posting their ranking and the first one was not at the top of their list.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I want to talk to those people who like think that one of these is better than like that one.
Yeah, a lot of people put the second one above the first one.
I thought the second one was so much fun, and I'm curious to revisit it.
Obviously for the longest time that was my number 2, but like sometimes I think about it and I'm like, you know what? Like it's a really good movie because there's a lot of action in that movie as well. And the whole ending scene of the second one where they're just like they have to lure all the Shriekers into this warehouse and just blow it up.
Yeah, and don't they like spray them with like a fire extinguisher to cool them off or something?
Yeah, or they spray themselves so they can walk through there without them seeing them.
I mean, I'll be honest, and it might be because it was the first one I saw. I remember more scenes from 2 than the first one. Because I remember a few of the jokes, like they do the rock, paper, scissors thing throughout the whole movie.
Yep.
And the scene where the one dude finally wins, but Fred Ward throws rock. He's just like, rock rips through paper. So he still goes. And then, I remember the fire extinguisher scene and then the elephant gun scene where they shoot the Shrieker and it just like explodes.
Boom.
Like, I remember a lot of the second one. I mean, the first one's classic, but...
The first one's got so many great like one-liners. Like, I don't have it up on my wall here somewhere. Oh, I have another Tremors poster over here.
Yeah, I should point out while we're recording this, you have like a huge Tremors poster right next to us.
So right here at the top, so it's when they find the first one that they see in the movie, they dig him up, and he's just Kevin Bacon's character is just like, he's like, oh man, he goes, how have we never seen something like this before? And then Fred Ward just offhandedly goes, well, everybody knows about them. We just didn't tell you. And dude, that kills me every time.
Yeah, that's funny. They have such good chemistry. Like Fred Ward has great chemistry in both those movies.
I don't know any other movies that guy's ever done.
He was in, what is that name of that? Road Trip?
Was he?
Yeah, he's the dad of the skinny kid, DJ Qualls.
Oh, wow.
That's Road Trip, right? Where he sends the sex tape across country by mistake?
Yes.
And then they have to go get it. Sean William Scott?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, he's the dad in that. He's always like a dad figure or like a principal in movies. Like, I think Tremors is maybe his biggest thing.
I'm going to have to look that up later because I always do that. Like when I get bored, I'll like look through like famous, some of my favorite movies and just see what do other people do? What do these other people do?
And I always get him confused with the guy who's like Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore, who's also in like a bunch of other stuff, but I just never know because he was like the bad guy in Dirty Work, the Norm Macdonald movie, which is a great fucking movie. I honestly like if they were to make another one, I would love to see them either try to get Kevin Bacon or Fred Ward back.
I could see, you know what would be fun is if they did like a big budget one. Like they
just go for it.
It's been like the thing in Hollywood lately is to do these like
nostalgia.
soft reboots and shit. And like especially like I look at how Halloween went. So Halloween went through how many fucking iterations, and then Rob Zombie did a soft reboot.
Yeah,
and then they just did it again recently, and it's like it doesn't.
That movie was huge.
And this one that came out was technically a direct sequel to Halloween 2?
Yeah, what was it, 2018 when that came out? That one was a sequel to Halloween 2, and then the next Halloween Kills is a sequel to this one, and I think they're doing another one, because I think they filmed 2 back-to-back.
Okay.
Because they're doing Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends.
I would love to see them do...
Shit titles, by the way.
Yeah. Halloween Kills is kind of cool, though.
It's okay.
Like that. like if they did like another like Tremors Reborn or something like that, and it was like
get as many people as you can back. Like get Reba.
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know. She was. Fuck it.
Start
Bring
off,
Reba
dude.
back.
I mean,
she's great.
So we hit the era of '90s nostalgia. Like we got that Power Rangers movie and stuff.
Yeah.
This movie came out in 1990, the first one.
Yeah.
Maybe if you can get fucking Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward and Reba, like those three, or whoever the actress was that was like kind of Kevin Bacon's love interest in the first one.
I don't remember her name. But
Yeah. If all these people are still around, just fucking go for it.
Do and make it like a direct sequel to the first one. Like, you could even just say like fuck all the other sequels because they were all like direct to video anyway, and just make this one be like a direct sequel to the first Tremors movie and see what happens.
The other option is it could be a sequel and it opens with Burt Gummer's funeral, and that's what's bringing them all together.
Also that, yeah.
There's no reason why you can't do a bigger budget one of these.
I think that like you said, the nostalgia factor would be there.
Yeah.
Even for people that are just like, oh yeah, I remember Tremors. Like,
yeah,
I used to love that movie as a kid. My dad showed that's where I my love for these movies comes from, is like a lot of these like monster movies and shit like that. Like my dad, not like a big movie guy.
Yeah.
But like, dude, like any of these Godzilla, like old Godzilla movies.
Yeah, 'cause you're a big monster movie guy.
Yeah, like Godzilla, Tremors, like all these like these Gremlins, like these are all movies that my dad was just like, hey, you want to see something cool? Like,
yeah,
and we just like we bonded over that, and like, and I see these movies, like I still have this love for these movies, and I think about these movies, and when I think about them, I think about my dad, and that's gonna be something that carries for my whole life until I have kids, and then I'm like, hey, you want to see some crazy movies that your grandpa showed me when I was way too young to see them? Like,
yeah, I mean, awesome. I have that with like Predator and like Aliens.
Yeah,
and like,
same.
Yeah, like Tremors 2 for me was my brother introduced me to it, and him telling me about the first movie made me so interested in the first one until I finally saw it. And yeah, man, like, and then now you are getting me interested in all these sequels. Dude, like,
it's infectious.
It is, and they are just dumb, fun monster movies, and not to be taken seriously, but like seriously enough.
Yeah, and it's like you can enjoy it enough for what it is, and not have to like pretend that like this is like my life now or some shit like that.
Yeah,
it's movies are movies. Like,
yeah, just so like watch what you like, enjoy what you like.
Fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm
like
swearing way too much.
Oh, that's fine. Fuck. Yeah, I like. It's one of those ones like I don't know if I would just throw this on and watch it, but I definitely think like, oh, I could like I'm due for a marathon of the Tremors movies and like throw it on again, you know.
No, definitely.
But yeah, like I think those first two I would throw on at any point. But yeah, this one I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it, and it definitely made me like, oh, I should watch the other ones.
And be honest, like I know you were skeptical, especially with how like I kind of gas up shit that I like all the time anyway.
Yeah.
Even if it's like not great, I'll be like, bro, this shit was so
look. I
good.
Just saw Fast 9. I understand. Like, yeah, no, like. I take back a lot of the shit I have talked about these movies for sure. I like immediately I was caught off guard by how like kind of good it looks. Like a lot of like straight to DVD movies have like a look to them. Like, there clearly wasn't a lot of money to this. And this is riding that line, but it's definitely more on the like professional side.
It looks clean.
Yeah, and like the environments look nice and stuff. Like it is a little dark in scenes when they're in the jungle stuff in a way that I wasn't expecting. Like, oh, you're on a tropical island. I expect it to be like bright and colorful, but it's also a horror movie.
Yeah.
And they take it like kind of serious for a little bit, like serious enough. But there are still like jokes tossed in throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, just serious enough to kind of set the mood and let you know that
like,
there is some danger here.
Yeah,
like,
but like just the look alone was like, oh, this doesn't look like some like sci-fi channel movie. Like immediately it looks better than I expected.
I feel like the sci-fi movies have this like grainy look to the film, and it just like
and the special effects just look like trash. But these
didn't. Takes you out of it a little bit, but
yeah, like definitely cheaper special effects, but like pretty good cheaper special effects. Like I was not bumping up against like, oh, that looks like shit. Like no, I was like, it looks like a Tremors.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. Is there really anything left to say?
Go watch the Tremors movies. Watch them all. I so many people are like that like I've said, like they're just like, oh, I can't believe that there's 7 of them now, and I'm like, bro, they're all like really fun.
And how many fucking franchises make it that far?
Not many.
Yeah, especially one that started this small. Like the fucking Chucky movies also, there's like 7 of those, and surprisingly there's more good one of those than bad ones.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, and I would fucking say like, hey, 5, 6, 7, even if you don't want to skip 2, 3, and 4, it's probably possible, although we both recommend 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do the 5, 6, 7 run. And I know I'm going to now.
Dude, it's really fun, and maybe you've never seen these movies before, and you'll be a fan now, a fan for life, and you could tweet at me and we could talk about Tremors. And
where can they tweet at you at?
Yeah, I guess we'll little plug skis here at the end. So you can follow me on Twitter. Actually, Twitter and Instagram, I think, are both at the Matt Nicks, TheMattKnicks. I do have my own podcast as well. It's called My Violet Tendencies. I post sporadically, basically whenever I feel like it. But
whenever
we
have time.
Yeah, but I do have 2 other podcasts in the work that I will be
very excited about
those
as
well. Yeah, I'm excited too, and it's all shit that I'm like very interested in. Basically, UFOs and cryptids and paranormal stuff. So keep an eye out on socials. For
you like
that.
it so much, you literally are gonna have 2 podcasts about it.
I know. I can't even commit to doing 1 podcast. I'm gonna try to do 3. Fuck
yeah, but I mean, you just don't commit to like a weekly schedule.
I think what I might do, I might try to do the Prime podcast as like a weekly one, and just like talk about shit that's going on in my life.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Fuck it.
I don't know if people will be interested in that.
Just sit down and bullshit with whoever is like nearby. Just be like, hey, you come here, let's go, and just fucking talk about whatever you did or saw or whatever you want to fucking talk about. And then monthly fucking cryptids.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but we're definitely gonna talk about another Tremors movie. I think we'll probably do the whole gambit at some point.
Oh yeah. This kind of was almost all of them a little bit, but
a little bit.
We can dive deeper and into the other ones as well.
Yeah.
After you watch 5 and 6, we could talk about those ones as well.
Yeah, maybe we'll do both in the same show.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So bring me your box set. I'm gonna watch those.
Bring me the box.
But yeah, man, thanks for we finally got to do this, talk about some Tremors, and force me to watch that movie. But I enjoyed it. It was great. So yeah, be sure to check out that stuff. Check out our socials at Defending Movie on Twitter and Instagram. Patreon, you have a Patreon as well, right?
Yeah. There is a Patreon. My Violet Tendencies is the name. There's nothing really on there right now, but there might be by the time you hear this. I don't know.
Do you freelance have one?
Yeah, there's. I also run a wrestling company. Sorry, I'm so bad at plugging things.
That's why I'm here.
I run a wrestling company. If you like pro wrestling, we're called Freelance Wrestling. We're based out of Chicago.
Best goddamn wrestling company in Chicago. Mark my words.
Thank you. But yeah, no, we do. You can check us out on YouTube. Is Freelance Wrestling. There's a bunch of cool shit. A bunch of free wrestling matches on there. At Freelance Res, WRES on Twitter, and just
Wrestling Academy in Chicago.
Yes, we have our own wrestling school as well. So if you want to be a professional wrestler and you live in Chicago or the surrounding area, or if you feel like moving here, you can hit us up and you can be a wrestler. It's awesome.
Yeah, Chicago's a great city. You should do it. Yeah, we also have the Patreon Defending Your Movie. So be sure to check all that out. But all right, man. This has been fun. And thank you all for listening.
Bye-bye.